The consent of the woman. Nowadays, Muslims are often accused of forcing their daughters into marriage, as if such a practice were part of the religion. But this accusation arises from confusion. People mix up the teachings of Islam with the tribal customs of the age of ignorance. These were traditions inherited from the way those ancient societies were formed, based on myths and tribal structures that did not grant women the place God intended for them. Islam came to put a clear limit to such arbitrariness, and established that the consent of the woman is an essential condition for a marriage to be valid. On one occasion, the wife of the Prophet related that a young woman came before him with tears in her eyes. She told him that her father had married her off against her will. The messenger of God did not force her to accept that decision. On the contrary, he gave her the choice. A companion of the Prophet also reported that a young woman came to the Prophet and told him that her father had married her against her will. The Prophet gave her the choice, to accept or to reject that marriage. On another occasion, a companion of the Prophet recounted what happened with a woman who had previously been married. Her father married her again without asking her, and she rejected that union. She went to the Prophet in search of justice, and he decided to separate her from that man. The companion of the Prophet narrated, a man married off his daughter who had already been married before, and she rejected it. She went to the Prophet, and he separated them, annulling the marriage. In this way, through concrete actions, the Messenger of God taught that any union carried out without consent is invalid. These testimonies are clear. In Islam, marriage is not a family imposition nor a forced burden. A woman cannot be compelled, and her voice cannot be ignored. What the Prophet established is that the final decision always belongs to her, and that her acceptance is indispensable. The difference with the tribal customs of the ancient Arabs and Persians is immense. In those societies, a daughter, a niece, or a female relative could be married off regardless of her will, because such was dictated by myths and structures of ignorance upon which they were founded. Islam, on the other hand, affirmed that the woman has the right to accept or to reject, and in that right lies the true dignity that the Prophet came to restore. Therefore, do not be misled by those who spread false claims about Islam, for they are driven by ignorance, or by the desire to corrupt, diverting people from the straight path.